Now, we're at a critical moment fighting for free speech simultaneously at a number of different levels. Firstly, of course, in the Labour Party. 52 years ago, almost to the day, I joined the Labour Party. I've been a member ever since. And without doubt, this is the worst attack on free speech I have ever experienced. Even war criminal Blair never attempted to silence the opposition. A number of us face the threat of expulsion if we insist on telling the truth about Jeremy Corbyn, about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, on the report of the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, even speaking on the same platform or defending those like Jackie, Chris Williamson, Moja Macheva or Tony Greenstein can get us thrown out. So I will do exactly this. I send them my solidarity as I do to all those here today, wrongly expelled or suspended, and above all to Ken Livingstone, one of the best anti-racists our movement has ever produced. I and all of us here today will not be silenced. Now, there are growing calls for the left to leave the Labour Party. I oppose this, but if we stay, we have to fight as a visible, focal point of resistance. That is the only chance we have of stopping a mass exodus. The days of keeping our head down are over. And what is remarkable and inspiring is how many party members and constituency Labour parties have resisted without any leadership from the top. In so many parties, we have said no, we do not accept your diktat. We will tell the truth. On the latest count, there are 80 CLPs who have defied the instruction to be silent, and I believe 235 secretaries and chairs representing 160 parties who have written letters of protest to the General Secretary-elect. We have repeated, and I do so today, the words that got Jeremy Corbyn suspended in the first place. Yes, the scale of the problem of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party was, quotes, dramatically overstated for political reasons. And as someone who is Jewish, I am furious that Jewish members are being used as a political football in what is a blatantly factional manoeuvre. And I can do without these offensive references to the feelings of the Jewish community. Jewish people, of course, like all peoples, are diverse, Zionist, non-Zionist, anti-Zionist. There is not a single Jewish voice. Secondly, this is a fight against racism. And what is so disturbing is that the real racism in British society today against Black people and Asian people is in the Labour Party sidelined and relegated. Never mind Windrush deportations, police violence, disproportionate imprisonment, economic injustice, Grenfell. The Chakrabarti report made it clear. This was a report into, quote, anti-Semitism and other forms of racism. The report denied it, but there is a hierarchy of anti-racism. So how do we fight that? Now, I have been investigated and exonerated by the Labour Party for using the words Jewish exceptionalism. And this is how I answered it. Through political experience in a struggle and self-clarification, I have become a socialist, internationalist, universalist Jew. This means that I understand that the oppressions of peoples, religions, and classes is interconnected. Universalism is opposed to exceptionalism or particularism, which sees each oppression as separate from all others. I am opposed to all exceptionalisms, whether Black, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, or any other form of exceptionalism, which places the fight against one form of oppression above the fight against any other. I believe there is no hierarchy of anti-racism. To me, all racisms are equally abhorrent. Now, this divide between anti-racist struggles is dangerous. What happened at Millwall Football Club last week sent a shiver down my spine. Racist football fans attacking supporters of the Black Lives Matter bending of the knee as anti-Semites. I first saw that personally 5 years ago in Thanet when the far right attacked us on the left as anti-Semites for attending a meeting at which Jackie was speaking against racism. Now, in those last 5 years, I've had the privilege, at times I have to say a doubtful privilege, of seeing these issues through the eyes of Jackie, my Jewish black partner. I have seen and felt her pain and anger as she has been attacked and vilified, her heritages challenged, her ancestors' histories made invisible, with references in the papers before her disciplinary hearing to her, quotes, unhealthy obsession with the African Holocaust, a reference which the party refused to delete. Just imagine if that had been said about the Jewish Holocaust. And I remember my own history too. As a child, I was told Hitler should have finished the job and put you Jews in the gas ovens, or you Jews killed our Jesus. And at football matches, the singing, I've never felt more like gassing the Jews. Now, this was prejudice, not institutional racism, not an equivalent of anti-black or anti-Asian racism depriving me of power. But it did have its impact. And this is the conundrum. There is a substantial socialist, internationalist Jewish left in Britain around the JVL and beyond. There is also a section of the right and among supporters of Israel, both Jewish and non-Jewish, who have cynically manipulated the issue of anti-Semitism as a weapon to defeat the left. Those like Angela Rayner, when she said that what Jeremy said may have been correct, but it was unacceptable to say it. Those like Margaret Hodge, trivialising the Holocaust when saying facing discipline in the PLP was like waiting for the knock on the door in Nazi Germany. But this is not just a binary divide, socialist internationalists against cynical manipulators. Life is rarely that easy. I was part of that generation of Jews born in Britain soon after the war, soon after the Jewish Holocaust. We were safe, and yet the Holocaust was part of the collective memory, the collective trauma of so many Jews, and still is. I know this because it was part of me too. For years, until at least in my 20s, I had this recurring nightmare, being chased and caught by Nazi concentration guards who took down my trousers, saw I was circumcised, and I knew I was doomed. Now, I remember a meeting of my previous CLP in Hackney some 5-6 years ago, early on in Corbyn's leadership, when the issue of anti-Semitism in the party first raised its head. I saw it among some right-wing young Jewish Labour members, a terror without foundation. And it wasn't contrived for political reasons. For them, it was real. And I remember my gut response was to feel sympathy, empathy. I didn't find the courage, but my instinct was to put my arms around one of the young men there and say to him, it's all right, you have nothing to fear. So there is this fear, at times terror, that has no basis in any current objective reality. And it is this which makes the crime of those who exploit this fear for factional purposes all the greater and all the more dangerous. So how do we begin to connect? Certainly not by conceding to the agenda that feeds that terror. Certainly not by apologising for something for which we are not responsible. Our answer has to be both, to understand and emphasise, and at the same time to tell the truth about the realities of racism in modern day Britain, and to repeat the message of universalism as their route out of the ghetto of exceptionalism, to connect, always connect the struggles, not reinforce the separation. Thirdly, this is a fight against the silencing of Palestinian voices, the voices which witness the occupation, the daily assaults, curfews, arbitrary arrests, detentions, house demolitions, travel restrictions, checkpoints, irrigation systems destroyed, exclusion and discrimination in the Israeli state and occupied territories. We've been told in the Labour Party we cannot say this, so let me say it. Israel is a racist endeavour. It is an apartheid state. It is a state, as Ian Pappy so graphically puts it, born of the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. And in today's Labour Party, we are banned even from discussing a motion to support a charity bike ride for Palestinian children. What a disgrace. And what connects all of this is the fight for freedom of speech and freedom of thought in the Labour Party and beyond. They're trying to prevent us from discussing the EHRC report, from raising the slightest criticism, even though it is fundamentally flawed, not just politically, but legally shot through with errors. To prevent us discussing the witch hunting of Jeremy and so many others, to prevent us from discussing the racist nature of the Israeli state. And now there are threats to free speech in our universities, which face funding cuts if they do not implement the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. This clampdown is sinister. We have to fight, but how? We cannot wait for our left leaders, and we haven't waited. Those CLPs and party secretaries who wrote a letter of complaint to the Gen Set, those heroes who didn't ask for or wait for permission, that is our inspiration, the basis and the beginnings of our resistance. These and our Labour left groups we have built in the last 6 years. We must connect and unite from the bottom, link up with the left of the NEC, the trade unions and beyond, build alliances and resist. It won't be easy, comrades, but there is no alternative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Graham.